All right, this is Charlie's roadmap to success. He is a sweet little dog. Now, he did nip my feet a little bit when I did a couple things, unexpected movements. So we did a lot of counter conditioning in this exercise. I didn't in this session. I didn't film it, but I just had some thoughts that I'm going to incorporate another dog training tip. When I have dogs that are fearful of fireworks, one of the things we do is use counter conditioning. Play the sound of fireworks shooting. You can get an MP3 of all sorts of different, the big boom, the whistles, the firecrackers, the bottle rockets, the whole 9 yards. Since babies cry a lot, and that's something he's going to need to be used to, this is something I would get him counter conditioned with. So what I would do when I'm doing counter conditioning, if he can, some dogs can see TV, some dogs can't. It kind of depends on their rods and cones in their eyes. If you've ever seen him looking at the TV and he's watching it, you can use the visual of it as well. Now for the fireworks, I just break it down to individual elements. The first one I do is auditory only. So what I do is I have a high-value training treat like this, the Tricky Trainer chicken liver, soft and chewy ones. I let him chew on it. If you notice, I can move his direction just by moving the treat. So I would make sure if we're using visual too that he's looking at the screen and also hearing the sound of a baby cry. Now first, I would play the volume at like volume 1, probably not 1, but so low that he can chew the treat and stay seated while he hears the baby crying. And I keep on doing this until I can go through 5 treats at whatever distance or whatever volume, and he stays seated and chewing the treat. As soon as he starts to get up, I'm having difficulty putting him in a sit, or I put the treat here, he's looking around it. We're getting close to his breaking point. The key for counter conditioning is you cannot push past the dog's breaking point. Once they react, you've invalidated the work you've done. So what we want to do is we want to play the volume of the baby crying at such a low volume that he's able to hear it and associate it with this delicious, chewy Tricky Trainer treat. Now, before I'm about to lose the treat, so right now I'd say I would cough or come up with a signal, and then we mute the baby or freeze the baby crying. So he only hears the baby crying while the treat is being delivered. As soon as I'm about to, when I squish it, I can usually let the dog chew it on about 6 bits, and you get a feel for it. When it's about to be done, come up with a signal and go like this, and the other person mutes it. Or you can have the remote control do it yourself. So this way he creates more of a positive association with the baby. Other things that we can do, I probably should include this in the other video, but is go to like a playground. And again, find a distance where your dog can sit and watch kids playing and yelling at a playground. Now, again, if he gets up or he looks around it, you're too close. So the idea is, let's say we're at 50 feet away from the playground and he's able to sit and take the treat. I start doing this, and once I get 5 in a row at this distance where he stays seated and takes the treat, then I take 1 step closer and I practice again. And I keep doing that until I get to the point where he has difficulty sitting, or when I do the treat, he's kind of looking around, he's easily distracted. Then I take note of whatever the distance is, then I leave, and the next time I come back and practice that, I'm going to start at the distance I left at. So each time you should be able to get a little bit closer. Don't push too far too fast. A lot of people push too far too fast, and then the dog reacts, and you have to back up several steps. So if he gives you pushback, or he's not able to do it, always back up a step and practice it. So I would do it first, just the crying, and don't just get the same crying. Look for a boy baby, a girl baby, a more hungry baby. There are different baby cries. And we want to get as a lot of variety as we can. And so that no matter what type of baby crying, he doesn't react, but we're going to do it at first at like volume 5, then 7, then 10, or whatever the iterations you are, till you get it going where it sounds like you got a real baby crying in your room and he is not paying attention to it at all. I would do the same thing, like I said, at a playground. If we have friends that have babies, if they can bring the baby over here, especially if it's a fussy baby, it's going to do a lot of crying. That can help. Just again, we want to prepare him and give him these experiences before. Oh, you want a belly rub, huh? Now, something else we can do is we can take a leash. If we're worried about the dog going and nipping the baby, we can put the leash around like the leg of a couch, run the end of the handle through or the leash through the handle, and then attach it to the dog's collar. This is a 4-foot leash, so this basically gives him maybe 3 feet circumference that he is free in. And so this way, the humans feel comfortable knowing that the dog can't get to the baby if the baby happens to be on the floor crawling around. That way, we don't have to worry about an accident happening. But we'd like to have the dog free if we can. Restraining and pulling the dog back sometimes will intensify their reactions. Okay, now it's going to be really important for the guardians to practice petting with a purpose and passive training, just as so we are giving him some structure while we're providing him with positive reinforcement and positive dog training. So remember, petting with a purpose, we're going to ask him to sit first. We're going to use this hand motion. Sit. Pet him under his chin whenever possible and say just the command word, not a lot of other words. Not good dog or good boy. And also don't say go potty or go to your bed. Just say, Paris or kennel or whatever it is. Passive training. Every time he comes to us, we're going to pet him and say come. Every time he goes to Paris or the dog bed, we're going to say Paris. Every time he lays down, we're going to pet him and say crash. So we're just going to reward him for the desired actions and behaviors. That will make it easier for him to do those things later on in more advanced situations, like on a walk or when we have a crying baby or something like that. I also went through a focus exercise. I'd like the guardians to practice that three minimum times with each guardian a day with the dog. We'd like to get up to 20 seconds on that second movement. And so remember, 1 second, 1 second. Make sure you're holding the treat in the tube of vision between the dog's head and yours. So he's looking at you. He's really looking at the treat, but he's looking also at your face the whole time. And go slow. 1 second for all 10 or 12 treats. Then maybe the husband tries it for all 10 or 12 treats. Then we come back and we try to 2 seconds of the second movement only. And then both people do 2 seconds. Find out whatever iteration. But if your dog starts losing interest and looking around, back up a step and practice that step until your dog is almost like a stalker staring at you. It helps to do this after or before you feed your dog, so the hunger creates more of a motivation. We also went over a number of rules and structure that we can apply, because for dogs, he thinks that he's a security dog, I think, in his brain. He sits on the couch, he looks out the front window, he barks at people who are passing by. So we're going to take away the furniture. That's going to take away his sentry position. We're not allowing him to sit the same height as us. That's one of the ways that we communicate we are not equals. We're up here, you're down here, which is why we have a dog bed. We've assigned a command word for the dog bed. Other rules, for the furniture, once we get to the point where we're at whatever distance, at least 30 days from now, but as long as these problems are still going on, we're going to continue enforcing that. Once he stops marking furniture and barking and doing all the rest of the stuff, if the humans would like to invite him up, they give an invitation. He's allowed to be up there for good behavior. But as soon as he starts barking, he has to get down immediately. Or if he gets down to get a drink of water and he comes back, he needs permission to get back up. And if he's pushing you on the couch, there's a whole lot of floor for you. This is a privilege for good behavior. This is a reward. It is not a right. And we're not going to let him up here at the top of the couch, because that just sends a wrong message for him that he's in charge. Let me see, what else? Other rules, he has to sit at a door before we let him go out. Remember, sit once, 2, 3 seconds. He doesn't sit, I walk away. Only say it one time. The more you say a command to a dog, the less you mean it. After 1 minute, I come back and I tell him to sit again. If he sits, then I open the door as soon as he sits. If he doesn't sit, I walk away for 2 minutes this time, then for 4 minutes, then for 8 minutes. So we double the length of time until he complies, and then he gets a reward. We're not punishing him, we're not chastising him, we're not yelling at him. We're just withholding the thing that he wants until he gives us what we want. Delayed gratification like that can do wonders for a dog. I do that without letting a dog out of the kennel, which we went over, and that's something the guardian should practice doing as well. We want him to, and also for the kennel, make sure every once in a while we leave a treat in there when he's away. Don't point it out, let him find it on his own. Get a bully stick, leave it in the kennel. So every time he goes in the kennel, it's a good positive association. We want to build up as much of those positive credits as we can before the baby comes in a month and a half, so that he's just comfortable going there on his own. Other rules, not being allowed to be within 7 feet of any humans or eating, especially with the baby. You might want to practice if you're going to do my tablecloth trick. If you get your high chair, start putting, it's a ways away for maybe you wait until the baby comes here. But again, training the dog, putting the high chair in the middle of the tablecloth and enforcing it, teaching the dog it's not allowed to go onto the tablecloth. Now, when the baby's going to drop a lot of food, if the dog thinks it can come in onto the tablecloth and get it, that's going to encourage the baby, and the dog will probably eat some of the wrong things. This is a good time to point out some of the toxins for dogs that people feed their babies. Grapes, raisins, avocados are the 3 that I find a lot of people give to their babies. Those are all toxic to dogs. Also onions, dark chocolate most people are aware of, but super food like avocado, I see a lot of people, the babies are throwing it and the dog's eating it and will get sick, and it can be in the wrong, enough volume, it can actually be fatal. So teaching the dog, just because a baby drops something doesn't mean you get to go get it. And if you're gonna let the dog clean up, I wouldn't do it until we take the baby out of the high chair and move the high chair away. Then we give the dog command, maybe we say, clean up. So the first time we invite him over, he starts eating. As soon as he takes the first bite, the first piece of macaroni and cheese or whatever it is, we say clean up, or cleaning, or made, or whatever you want to call it. And now we have a command word that we can tell him, now it's time for you to go clean that stuff up. But we don't let him do it when the baby's in there, because otherwise the baby will do it more, and it's also confusing for him. And if he's getting too close to a baby who's eating, that's a way of practicing lack of respect for the baby as an authority figure. Let me see. Feeding, we're going to make sure that the humans are eating first. And if the humans are not going to eat at the time, we're going to put food in the bowl, not allow him to eat it. And he's going to have to wait with food in the bowl. Then the human grabs a chip or a cracker, something that can eat in 5 or more bites. If you're going to eat your actual meal, that's even better. And the dog can't eat his food until you're done and you give him permission to eat the food. And I would come up with a command word. I say grub, chow, and feast. You can say whatever you want. When the dog takes that first bite, for the first like 2 or 3 months, just say grub. And after a while, you say grub, and he'll run over and know that means I have permission to go eat my food. Let me see. Practice the counter conditioning with the knocking at the door, the doorbell, the garage door, opening and closing doors in the driveway, and anything else he might react to, especially if we have mobiles or stuff like that. The crying baby, all the rest of the stuff, we want to make sure it's a nice, quiet household, so when the baby goes to sleep, the humans don't have to wake up every time the dog starts barking and go and soothe the baby. Charlie, is there anything else we forgot? No bully sticks. They already know that bully sticks, or I said rawhides is what I meant to say. No rawhides. Bully sticks is what we're going to give them because they're much better. But yeah, I can't really think of anything else. Is there anything I forgot? I'm getting shaking heads. So Charlie's just like, give me the treats and get out of here. I got a lot of sleeping to do. All right, Charlie. Well, it was a pleasure meeting you and working with you today, buddy. I want you to make us look good. Oh, the Guardians, make sure that you remember to call us to set up a dog training session in the spring so we can teach Charlie to walk next to the stroller and Mom can enjoy her cappuccino or whatever it is while she walks the baby on the stroller and doesn't have to mind Charlie because Charlie knows what he's doing. All right, Charlie, that's your roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it. Focus. Focus. Good job.